Okay, guys, here's some stocks I'm going to be watching this week in the chat room at greatstockpicks.com. Now, I got to tell you, this weekend poured over a lot of charts, and I use the term "in love" a lot in the chat. In other words, I'll joke about whether or not I just fell in love with the setup. And after this weekend, looking at a bunch of charts, I'm not in love with a lot of charts right now. Doesn't mean there's not some handsome charts out there as far as pretty bullish, but a lot of charts are extended right now. And keep in mind, I'm an intraday trader, so I look for setups that are going to help me tomorrow, right? Or that'll help me one day this week because I'm looking for an intraday move. So keep that in mind with the rare swing trade thrown in there. So anyway, here's a few that I found, but I am confident that with earnings season rolling around here and getting heated up a little bit, that we will find plenty of intraday action in the chat room. But as far as charts based on daily candles this week, had trouble falling in love this weekend. But having said that, here's a few I'll be watching this week. Polycom PLCM, you kind of have horizontal resistance right here at the $12 area, and you can see a little trend line here with a little bit lower price. You know what? You can see a little volume spike here on Friday, but on an intraday basis, it's had some really big intraday volume spikes. So sometimes when you watch things trade, you become privy to things like that, like PLCM's intraday volume spikes, and that may be leading into something. Okay, so anyway, PLCM on watch. If it can get above these recent highs here, it might, at least give you a trade to 12, and through 12, it might really break out. So it's certainly an interesting chart. CIEN, actually, I'm kind of looking for a bounce here. This is down 5-6 days in a row to the 200-day. So just have it on bounce watch for Monday. Again, only with a clean intraday setup. I don't look at this chart and fall in love with it by any means, okay? But it's kind of interesting because it's fallen this many days in a row and hitting the 200. Sometimes when you have that scenario, you can get a nice bounce the following day. Again, I won't even mess with it unless I get a proper low-risk intraday setup. And then BTU, and this can go for any of the coal names, but I have chosen BTU because we had a little late-day trade in it on Friday. But again, you kind of had 2 days, 3 days down in a row, 2 days down in a row, a little hiccup, and then a big push on Friday. But it's hitting the 200-day, it's hitting the 100-day, it's hitting a trend line. If you attach, the July and September lows and draw a trend line there, it's hitting that too. Now, you could also argue, hey, this looks like it could be, a breakdown. You can almost say an inverse head and shoulders is just such a thing as not an inverse, I'm sorry, head and shoulders with a little bit of a slant to it because of the trend line. So you could also argue that, hey, this is ready to break down. After the big sell-off on Friday into the moving averages in the trend line, at least for Monday, I'm more apt to expect a bounce. So anyway, that's what I have BTU on watch for on Friday. All right, and well, there's the SPY. You can see how strong it's been. Let's see, VVUS. Again, still flagging. This hasn't met an entry point yet. We're watching this every day in chat ever since the gap up, and it just keeps grinding lower. One of these days, the volume's kind of coming down too. One of these days, this could take out a previous day's high and give us another quick rip. So VVUS definitely needs to be on watch. I like the way it's come in. IACI, again, not in love with this one, but you had the big down day, kind of a narrow day. This is one of those that could go either way. It looks like it wants to visit 42. But just a couple days ago, this was 46. So I don't know. That's one of those that could go either way. But it wouldn't be first and foremost on my watch list on Monday. I had it on watch on Friday because of this big day down, and then you kind of had a narrow day. So it's less interesting to me today. But anyway, Nvidia, this has been on watch for about a week straight, and it's still holding this trend line. A little bit of a bottoming tail there, little bit of a bottoming tail there on Friday. So this one still may bounce. And we haven't had an entry in it yet since we started watching it, but it doesn't cost you anything to have it on a chart. All right, PPHM is a lower volume one, but after this crazy move, hasn't broken its own early high since then. Okay, and what I mean by that is I prefer afternoon breakouts on something like this, and you're looking for that secondary move. You get the big move, and then now you get some red days in a fairly narrow range. What I'm looking for, I'll go to 5-minute candles here. For instance, on Friday. This moved up to here and then just grinded lower. Okay, now once you get past the lunchtime slowdown in the afternoon, if this would have broken the early high, you probably would have got a nice rally. So only if PPHM can meet those parameters on Monday or any day this week will I trade it. Otherwise, you're probably just going to get, just guessing. If you just guess and dive in at the open, you're just going to get this nonsense. So you only want to take it if you get, like an afternoon push through the high of the day. Typically, you'll get some follow through. You can kind of look at DNDN from Friday, and you can see, this was similar to PPHM. And then you get the high of day break and you get that late afternoon rally. So those tend to stick. This is another one of those, it had the big move and then several days down. Anyway, that wasn't the point of this video. Best Buy, I don't have a call on this one. We had a great trade on it on Friday around the 1330. In the 1330s is where I called it, and we got a dollar move out of that. And that was my big one on Friday. But you can't look at this chart and ignore it, okay? Massive volume. You still might have some short covering. So I don't look at that chart and say, hey, this is the exact point we want to enter it. I'm going to watch it trade and see if it gives us a low risk setup on Monday or any day this week. TSO, I don't really have a chart set up here, but this has made some nice intraday moves the last few days, and it deserves to be on watch. If I go to 15s, you can kind of see this volume spike here and then a follow through, and now it's kind of flagging. So on the daily, look at that and say, I don't really see a setup. But when you get down to the intraday, back up over 42.50, this might get some legs again. So TSO will be on watch, and TIBX is kind of interesting after the gap down. It's just been grinding higher, a little bit increased volume on Friday. You have this one spike here that could be a catalyst, 23.40 above this spike, could be a catalyst for maybe a move to fill this to where this low here at around 24 was, and a break of Friday's high, 23.05, is also a catalyst. So you get 23.05, 23.40, a couple catalysts. Again, if that one, and speaking of intraday volume spikes, TIBX did that. You had the spike. Well, let's go to 5s. You can see it better. See the volume spike there, another volume spike there. It's one of those that you look at and say, hey, I think something's up. And the daily chart is interesting. So also a thinner stock that I probably won't be trading, but looking over charts this weekend, it's pretty handsome. So GNRC, generator company, is pretty interesting here. You have a high, you have a lower high, you have a lower high still here, and then you're kind of grinding up. So you can kind of picture over Friday's high, you're probably going to get through this high, and it's a thinner stock that can really move at times, as you can see right here. So I meant to circle that whole area. You can see that it can move at times. I don't know what the short position is. I'll probably look that up before the morning, but up over Friday's high, and then you have this high. This one could be a nice trade this week. Again, it's a little thin for me, and with 250 to 300 people in the chat room every day, I don't call stocks that don't average at least $1 million a day, because our chat room itself can move them, and I don't want the last one in to get hurt. So I don't mess with stocks like this for the chat room. But for this video, I saw the chart and said, hey, that looks pretty good. So keep your eyes on that one if you don't mind trading the thinner stocks. I won't be calling it in the chat room, though. Anyway, have a great rest of your Sunday night. I'm going to leave it at that, and we'll see everybody on Monday. Have a good night.